morning, everyone. It is a new day. It is a great day. A Wednesday here on the tackle. We call it Siasa Wednesday. And I am glad to be joined by very powerful guests. And my name is Chepkoech Towett. I am your host, and I hope to engage with you on New Day TV on Facebook and YouTube. Kindly comment, share, subscribe, like, and let's interact there. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce my guests. I have Fredrick Okango, who is the Azimio Secretary for Political Affairs, and I have Mr. Odoyo Owidi, who is the Chairman for Lake Victoria South Waterworks Development Agency. Karibuni sana, and I know it is going to be a good show. Thank you first of all for honoring our invite. We are so glad and we appreciate your presence this morning.
Thank you, thank you.
So Fred, kindly introduce yourself and what you do before we go into today's topics.
Thank you so much, viewers. My name is Fredrick Okango. I'm not new on this show.
Yes, I know you are one of
the pioneers of this show, and I'm happy to be back here to just engage with the online community. As you are aware, I am from the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition, led by Baba, himself. And originally, I'm from Kenya African National Union, KANU. Mm-hmm. And even my good friend Honorable Odoyo knows that KANU is the mother of all parties. But him, he left and he joined ODM and now he's in UDA. Mm. So that is the nature of democracy. I'm glad to engage, and I hope whatever we discuss will be useful to our country, because that is what we need to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Okango. Chairman.
Yes.
Karibu naona hata tai, wewe ni brand ambassador. It is a representation of who you are.
and I have 9 of these yellow ties, so I can actually wear them half of the month without.
Karibu, Chairman, if you could quickly introduce yourself.
My name is Odoyo Owidi. Other than saying that I'm Chairman Lake Victoria South Waterworks Development Agency, I'm more of a political analyst and activist. Mm-hmm. And I'm here today just to help the people interpret the actions, statements, and happenings in the political field.
Correct. And what I like about that is that it means what we strive to do is to have objective conversations, because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to break down those messages, pale juu. What are the implications? And what does it mean, so that for me and someone else like me at home is able to understand and discern some of these political statements or political actions. So our first kind of engagement today is an in-depth analysis of Baba's bid for the AU Commission chairmanship and what that would mean, for ODM and Azimio as a whole. So if he gets it, so what is post-Baba Azimio going to look like? If he doesn't, which I pray does not happen, what also is going to, how is Azimio going to re-strategize na kujipanga? And then also, Chairman, what does that mean for the government side post-Baba with the AU chairmanship, commission chairmanship? Does that mean you'll be able to infiltrate his strongholds effectively and gain ground there? And if he doesn't, does that mean the comradeship that we've been seeing between Baba and the president, that is William Ruto, come to an end, or that is actually a real comradeship and it's not just because of his AU bid?
Wow. What you call comradeship between President William Ruto and Baba is actually a relationship between a president and one of his senior citizens. Mm-hmm. When Raila Odinga wants a position outside Kenya, President William Ruto is under obligation to support it, unless there is an equivalent or more qualified Kenyan also seeking the position. Mm-hmm. It is the nature of President William Ruto to be the president of Kenya and all Kenyans, not his political party, not his political alliance, not his kinsmen. He's the president of all of us in Kenya. And that is why you have seen his appointments, his engagements cross political borders. You are talking about what does his going to the AU mean to Kenyans, Raila Odinga?
Yes.
especially the government side. People have always assumed that President William Ruto will find it easy if Raila Odinga
Is not in the country.
is not in the country. But the things Raila Odinga does when he's in the country that is interrupts the government agenda, he cannot do them continuously for 5 years. Otherwise, they will also destroy him, because people also want peace to eat. And you see, after the post-election mandanganyos,
What did you call them, Chairman?
they are called, okay, I know you want to call them mandanganyos, but they are mandanganyos beyond the Rift Valley going the other side. After the post-election mandanganyos, people tasted peace. And also they waited for the results of those mandamanos. And you know, our sons and daughters were called to the streets because they were told to believe that the elections were rigged through the server. Of course, we all know that this time around, the presidential results were declared from physical Form 34As and Bs delivered at Bomas. It had nothing to do with the servers. So, as time went on, they discovered that was just to take them to the streets. Then there was the cost of living. It became clear that it was just a tool to take them to the streets. When finally they have gone to the streets and the government has accepted to sit down and talk, those two were not properly discussed at the NADCO. So if you are going to ask them to go to the streets again, what would you tell them? So I think it is also in Raila Odinga's interests that he takes off from the hot political scene in Kenya, takes a break. His age also demands that he does that. But to think that Ruto is happy because he will get a break, no. Because even when Ruto beat Raila Odinga, he was stronger, and he had a more stronger support in the government of the day together with Uhuru Kenyatta. I know political dynamics, things may change.
Correct. As we know in Kenya, every new day could mean new things, even for the political scene. But, Chairman, I would still like to hear what you think about the infiltrating of the strongholds. And two is, are you saying that some of the issues that were raised by the Azimio side during the Maandamano, I do not want to say what you said, were not legitimate issues to Kenyans? Because you've mentioned cost of living. Mm-hmm. Cost of living is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And whether we are experiencing it firsthand or hearing it from those around us, is that we can see how much it affects Kenyans. That is part A. And part B, you were talking about presidential results being declared using the Form 34As, the physical form. But remember also there were some constituencies that were missing. So some of these issues, I don't think were coming from...
You know, by the time the results were declared, it was clear if there was anything missing, it would not change anything. Mm-hmm. But to take people to the streets, that the results are in the server, if the server is opened, it is going to show a different winner, was fraud and dishonesty. If that were the case, it would have been on top of the agenda of the NADCO discussions. Today, they have come up with, let's do an electoral audit. That means it begins from the registration of voters to declaration.
All the way through.
All the way. That is what they are talking about. But again, we can't be a country which every election year, we want to change the rules of the game. We want to change the rules of the game. Look at the appointments of IEBC. The same rules we used to appoint the Gerera form, we no longer want to use them. We want to expand that team and so on. So we can't do that. So what I'm saying is the cost of living that we have today is no different from the one that we had through the Uhuru tenure. But we never went to the streets. We never even incited people. What I tell you, the truth that is bitter, that when people hear you say, they say you are insulting somebody. I'm not insulting them. Raila is the king of incitement. Even when we were in school, there were students who are kings of incitement. You need them 2 minutes, the school would go on strike. Yes, they would be kings of incitement. Today they are telling you that the cost of living is so high that you need to go to the streets. But the price of hunger today is no different from what it used to be in the old days. And you know, food is seasonal. After harvesting, we have abundance. Before harvesting, we have scarcity. And that is what happens all the time. So to take people to the streets for a season that of scarcity, when we know it only takes time for us to get abundance, is being also dishonest.
Thank you, Chairman, and it is glad that umeanza na hiyo gear. Mr. Okango,
Yes.
What do you think?
I really want to be systemic. I don't want to be systematic, as Honorable the Chairman is systematic. I'll be systemic. That means I'll be wholesome in this argument. And I want to be very objective. Let's start from AU, road to AU, or road to Addis, as you put it.
Yes.
Raila Amolo Odinga, there's no doubt, if you look at his history, his Pan-African vision, there's no doubt that he's eminently qualified. His sacrifice to his country, his history of mediation, his bridge-building capabilities, that is the person that we need for Africa. For an Africa that is developed, an Africa that is united, an Africa that is prosperous. And therefore, to that extent, we strongly believe that Raila Amolo Odinga, as the AUC chairperson, this country called Kenya, will not only benefit from his rich knowledge, but also from his networks, engagements, and all that he will do as pertain to that job. Number two, the reason why Kenya Kwanza, chairman and team, are supporting the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is because they know that because Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is qualified, and having gone to AUC, the benefit that will come to the people of Kenya, not Azimio, not Kenya Kwanza. And because they are the government of the day, they are likely to benefit. If anything, that candidature will make this country a better place in terms of investment, in terms of opportunities that will come with it, and they know that. Now, thirdly, President William Ruto is obligated to support the candidature of Raila because currently he's the president. And if he's the president, the rules of procedure of AUC, particularly Chapter 2, that requires that the people who shall vote for the AUC chairperson are the heads of states and government. He is one. So it is imperative that Raila Amolo Odinga goes to William Ruto and asks him for that vote. That happened. We thank President William Ruto for accepting to vote for Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, that does not mean that the local politics will be easy. Today, we have seen what is happening in Kenya Kwanza regime. You know, we know that this regime has challenges. While chairman might not tell you, but the challenges are there. They have accepted. President William Ruto would want a country that succeeds. The same to Raila Amolo Odinga. But for us who are in opposition, we must call them out where they are going wrong. We must congratulate them where they're doing right. As it is today, Chep, we know for sure that the cost of living is still an issue. Not just an issue, but an issue that has not been addressed because their economic transformation, what they call bottom up, is a race to the bottom. Number two, we also know, Chep, that today there are so many promises that Honorable William Ruto gave to the people of Kenya, to Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, Mtu Mkokoteni, and he has experienced challenges in delivering. Maybe because the team he works with, maybe because of the executive failure to deliver, and maybe because they were just lies. But what is coming out is that he needs help. We are willing, as the people of Kenya, to look at those issues and help where we can by, first of all, being patriotic. We have been patriotic enough as Azimio. When we went to the people, we did not go to the people because we were using them. No. The NADCO report that chairman is talking about has got three components. One, there is the submissions by the public, there is observation by the committee, then there's recommendation by the committee. The cost of living that is a challenge to President William Ruto today is an issue of concern. If you remember when we submitted our issues for discussion at the dialogue table, our issue number one was cost of living. We talked about fidelity to political party and multi-party democracy. We talked about outstanding constitutional issues. We talked about electoral justice and related matters. The NADCO report has outlined those issues. And we have said in the framework agreement that there shall be issues that are agreed upon and issues that are not agreed upon. The issue that we did not agree upon is the issue of cost of living. Why? Kenya Kwanza told us that they are the government of the day. They know what they are doing. They know where they are coming from. They know where they are going. We left them to their devices. Why? Because we are patriotic enough. But we advise them, if you want to address the cost of living pronto, the first thing that you must do, let us look at the Finance Act that has come with punitive taxes that are heartless, reckless. They refused. Today, Chep, members of Kenya Kwanza, my good friend Wakili Muriu and his counterpart of the neighboring Kandara,
Yes.
they are telling their farmers of avocado that let us go and demonstrate that these taxes are punitive. We shall not accept. They passed the bill into an act in parliament and they told us that they know what they are doing. Listen to this. The other thing, Chep, in the NADCO report, we all agreed that we should disagree. We disagreed on the cost of living, and it was documented. And we said, do away with the housing levy fund, because that housing levy fund is going to impoverish our people. If you look at the issues around it, the issues that require a legal framework, the court agreed and said it is unconstitutional ab initio. What did they do? They went back and tried to amend it. Even after amending it, there were still issues that the public refused to accept. They said, no, this housing levy, we don't want it. We want food. Mtu wa boda want food on the table. Mama mboga want food on the table. Mkokoteni want food on the table. They want school fee. But housing fund that is going to build units that they will benefit from, of course, but not in the immediate terms, that was not an interim measure as proposed by us. Now, we went into this discussion and we agreed. And I want to thank Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah and Honorable Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka for having done a good job. We do have a report that has been adopted by Parliament. I know we'll talk about that report later.
Yeah.
But on the issue of AUC, in the absence of Raila Amolo Odinga, because there's something you have raised, I have always argued that there is no one who can replace Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga is a special politician. He's a titan, he's a legend. And in a democracy like Kenya, there is no emperor's stool that you can say, I'm now going to inherit this stool. You can only chart your path. All the leaders that would want to be Raila Amolo Odinga, they cannot be. Because start from ODM. A leader will emerge, and ODM as a party will elect their leader in the absence of Raila. Go to Azimio. A leader will emerge, and Azimio, or whatever political formation that will be, will elect their leader in the absence of Azimio or Raila. Go to the Luo Nyanza, where we all come from. A leader will again emerge, and the Luo nation will say, from today, we are going to follow so and so, in the absence of Raila. Come to Kenya, Raila the Enigma. A leader will again emerge. So you'll have portions of leaders emerging in their own field, but you'll never have a systemic leader like Raila Amolo Odinga saying, I can be the leader of Kenya, I can be the leader of the Luo Nation, I can be the leader of Azimio, I can be the leader of ODM, and so on and so. That will not happen. So we have accepted that fact. But however, I think that this AUC is a good thing. It's a good thing in the sense that Raila Amolo Odinga from his networks, his suitability, capability, and capacity, is the best candidate for this region. You saw yesterday President Kagame endorsing. You saw the other day President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni endorsing. You saw in his statements, he said that he is going to reach out to as many leaders as possible. We want to wish him the very best. But as we wish him the best, also back at home, we shall continue with the journey. And the journey requires that we work with the other leaders to put the government into check. And lastly, the camaraderie between Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and President William Ruto. And allow me to call him President William Ruto. You know, for a very long time, I've been calling him Honorable Ruto. And today I'll call him President William Ruto.
Because you have one vote.
No, because he has a vote. He has a vote, right?
He has that vote.
And if that vote succeeds, I'll continue calling him President William Ruto because he's the president. Now, President William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga are not strangers. They have worked before. They know each other. You remember there's one of the funerals, I think in central Kenya, where Raila told Ruto that huyu Ruto nimemjua vizuri sana. When Ruto came up to speak, say, huyu Raila hata mimi nimemjua vizuri sana. They know each other. And I don't think it should be misconstrued that, you know, when Raila asks Ruto for a vote, then it's a handshake. We don't want a handshake with the chairman and team. People shake hands every day. When we came in the morning, actually, we were parking here with him and we shook hands. So shaking hands is something that happens every day. But politically speaking, is that Raila needs William Ruto for the vote. William Ruto needs Raila even more for this country to succeed. The mandanganyo that he's talking about, in any case, by the way, mandanganyo means, you know, where we come from with the chairman, nganyo means rebelling and demonstrating. So he has just coined it to mean mandanganyo because he's speaking to his constituents. You know, he is a very clever politician. So that mandanganyo thing came because Raila had a following, massive, behind him. I'm one of them. And we know that there was a reason for that. But because we are patriotic, and when on 2nd April, William Ruto announced to the public and to the world that he is willing to sit down with Azimio because he has listened to them and talk. We advised Raila Amolo Odinga that this is an opportunity that we must not miss because this country is for us all, and as a patriotic Kenyan, is bigger than all of us. Let's listen to them. They listen to us, we listen to them, we harmonized our issues, and there came the NADCO report.
Okay, Chairman, also what Mr. Okango is running away from. Chairman, I know you want to respond, but this is part of your questions for the response. What Okango is running away from is, we have seen in the papers, I think, the whole of the week or a week ago, that there are jitters within Azimio because of course, the exit of Baba to the AUC means people want space for themselves, whether you are creating or you are being given. But as we know in politics or in power, nothing is given, you have to take it. So what Mr. Okango is running away from is to tell us the truth about that Azimio leadership. Does that mean we will see regional leaders come up? And by regional leaders, because to consolidate the Nyanza vote, the way Baba has been able to do it and to galvanize it, is going to be a tall order, which when I look at it, I don't see someone that block will follow as a whole. I feel like I see some pockets of regional leaders coming up to try and consolidate as a community. So...
First, let me expand that for you. First of all, people were following a course. The course was the presidency. You know, the Luo are very proud people. They can celebrate Gor Mahia win with all their wealth, health, and strength. They were seeing the contest between Raila Odinga and any other presidential candidate like a sport that they are desperate to win. And that is why they were all unanimous and united behind Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga as a person on his own, without that cause that he was leading, would not be followed by anyone. The jittery that you see in Luo Nyanza and in the Azimio fraternity in general is because the leaders who are there courtesy of Raila Odinga. If you see a 4-time MP requires his hand to be raised to guarantee him his re-election the 5th time, then you know it is Raila Odinga they need to get into parliament. It is Raila Odinga they need to get into Senate. It is Raila Odinga they need to be governors. Look at all the 29 constituencies in Luoland, 4 counties and so on. Those people did not go through any nomination of any sort. They were handpicked by Raila Odinga. If you have been handpicked by Raila Odinga to win a seat that even you have lost before, would you want him to go away from the political scene? No. It is not even a search for a kingpin in Luoland, a search for regional leadership. No. It is this gravy train of getting elected and having it nice. I was in Migori over the weekend, and one sitting MP said, Murkomen was seated, and said, if Raila Odinga told me to come there, kneel down and worship you, I will do that without asking a question. That is how far it is getting. So that jitteriness, now I have told you what it is. It is about getting elected. And Raila Odinga is a very smart man. He's testing waters. He's going away. So he goes and uses his brother to propose Opiyo Wandayi to lead. Then he uses his wife to go and propose John Mbadi to lead. Then he goes back now to propose John Mbadi for the seat of Suba. The proposal by Ida and that one by Odinga on Mbadi was not on the same thing. Ida proposed him for Luo leadership. Raila Odinga proposed to him for the seat of Suba. And some other people close to Raila will still go and propose. Then they see the reaction. When they proposed Mbadi, they were told, Wandayi. They were told, first of all, this guy is not even Luo. First of all, this guy is a guy who will not get elected without you. First of all, this guy is a guy who will not lead anyone. But let me tell you, that leadership, the way they said it, it will emerge. Just like Okango said, leadership in Luoland will emerge. Because Luos like certain types of leaders. A leader who will face an enemy even when he's alone and tell him off. A person who will go and get. Not these ones of lift up my hands, Baba, if you don't, I am dead. Those ones will not need Luos. But there's something Okango said that I did not want to go. You know, this guy, one thing I said, even when I posted our conversation with him here today, I said, this will be a mature debate.
Correct.
You know what he said here? That Ruto needs Raila even more for Kenya to have peace. You know what he was saying in other words? That it is Raila who disrupts peace in Kenya. And that is true, we all know. Imagine if after election, Raila goes to Karen, takes a break, walks once in a while to Capitol Hill, walks to Bondo, and comes that and says, let's wait the next general election we fight. We will have a very peaceful country. Because some of these things we go to the street for, they have been happening in the governments which Raila Odinga supports. Take, for example, when the 1.5% railway levy was introduced, to build a railway that came from Mombasa straight into Uhuru Kenyatta's farm in Naivasha, he never raised a finger. He never said anything. And to date, we who import so many things, we still pay that levy, 1.5%. But when President William Ruto introduces a 1.5% housing levy, which the first beneficiary was Raila Odinga's stronghold of Homa Bay and Kisumu, they are making noise. Even today, they are still making noise. Oh, we are paying. Even somebody who does not even earn a salary to pay anything. And they say they want food fast. They don't want. That levy is how much on the 20,000 they earn, on the 50,000 they earn. And this is, taxes are never paid to benefit you direct. There are people who pay taxes and roads are built, but they never leave their home even one day. Taxes are paid, schools are built, and they never even went to school. So taxes are paid collectively. When I pay taxes, you benefit in one way. The other tax that pays benefits other people. So collectively, we all benefit from one tax or the other directly. So whatever Raila Odinga is doing by asking people to go to the streets on the basis of a tax introduced to ease Kenyans' burdens is called incitement.
But, Chairman,
Yes.
on that same breath, some of these issues that are raised is in the process. Like, we had the finance bill introduced, and there was an issue, there was a court order, because one of the issues cited was public participation. The same way Housing Levy Fund has gone to Parliament, there's an issue. And we even saw the president make a comment in one of the places he had visited to say that if this bill does not pass. And now, with that, what becomes the role of Parliament, especially on oversight? And on the tax issue, Chairman, and engage me on this, the issues that have been raised have been on the process. Because if you educate me, and here I am representing my fellow Kenyans in helping me and them understand. Because when you come to tell me, Chep, you earn 50,000 shillings, sasa tunataka kukukata ya nyumba na hivi na hivi na hivi. Whether we want to accept or not here, is the cost of living has really risen. Because the payslip has remained the same. But the things that have to be deducted from my payslip are increasing. And some I don't even understand how and why. So some of the issues that are raised are of concern, of legitimate concern to me, who has to be taxed.
Okay. I want you to understand that tax that is collected from citizens is like sadaka that is collected from churches. The sadaka is collected when you go to church and you don't ask what is used to do. But things are done. Let me tell you that when we pay taxes, like the ones President William Ruto increased, didn't you see that we finally eased off the Eurobond, and after we had eased off, the dollars just started behaving?
But didn't we ask for another Eurobond to pay off that Eurobond?
Let me tell you what happens. You need to understand how finance sometimes works. If we did not do what we did, this one we had was going to reach a level that even if we tried paying it, we will be earning less than we need to repay it. You must learn how to manage your debt. Sometimes even us, you have an is it mshwari or ile fuliza? Unachukua mshwari because
unarudi unalipa fuliza.
Because mshwari is 7.5%.
That's a bottom up economy.
Wait, mshwari is because you see you are behaving. It's like it is President William Ruto who took this debt. President William Ruto is trying to manage these debts before Kenya is sold. So he's buying time as he raises money to clear them off. He is buying time as you see. I was giving you a good example. You have Fuliza.
Yes.
And Fuliza is a very dangerous one because it is 10% per day. You know what that means per month? It's almost 150. And per year it is hell. So you go and take Mshwari to come and clear your Fuliza so that it frees you to do other things with that fund. Because the conditions that you have in the Fuliza are very tough. This is what President William Ruto did. And now let us not pretend that we know it better than the financial world that has said now that they have cleared the Eurobond, things can ease and we can see the results. What is important is seeing the result, because this majority of Kenyans being incited to go to the streets understand nothing about financial management. They don't. And I wanted you to compare, you were running away from when I told you, when Uhuru introduced the railway levy, nobody raised a hand because they were in bed with Raila, the inciter. But now, when President William Ruto introduced this housing levy, we are making noise. And no tax can benefit exactly everyone. Taxes sometimes benefit one section of society, another tax, one section, another tax, one gender, another tax, one age group, and so on. So that in the end, we all benefit collectively from the taxes so paid in Kenya. This very country, which you say is getting spoiled by cost of living and other things, is the same way where President William Ruto and his friends, relatives live in. They will also feel it. We also live in there, and we would also feel it. So when a good thing is done, let it be done. If this cost of living was an issue, we would have a very clear proposal by Azimio on how to do it, other than telling us to reduce taxes. When we reduce taxes, what are we going to pay this 11 trillion loan that was incurred by the subsequent regimes behind? How are we going to
Chep, I like the argument that Chairman is bringing, because it's a valid argument. But what Chairman is forgetting is that President William Ruto was the principal assistant to President Kenyatta. And even the Eurobond that you asked him, that he has not answered, the first Eurobond, when they took it together. And President William Ruto knows about that Eurobond. So it is his national and patriotic duty to pay it as the President of the Republic of Kenya. So there's no question about that. It's not about Uhuru. And Raila Amolo Odinga was not in that government. Raila Amolo, they keep on saying, handshake. There was never handshake government. There's nothing like that. But let me take you back to the tax that he's talking about. And I want to be very specific on the tax of housing levy. When this started, when they introduced it to the people, they said it is a patriotic contribution. Then they changed. They said, no, this is a job creation opportunity. Then they changed, no, it is a tax. And the Kenyans agreed. If it is a tax, then bring it on. Let's engage and let's agree. Fortunately, the independent courts, the High Court had that matter and determined it and said this deduction is unconstitutional. Number one, on the basis of the burden of taxation as per the principle of public finance did not allow that taxation to be equitable, because they were only imposing taxation on the salaried.
And not all Kenyans.
And not all Kenyans who have got an income. What did they do? They say, no. Now we are going to impose it even on those who are on the informal employment. Mama Mboga, Boda Boda. Ruto went after them. And they said, when you get a deduction on the gross income of the salary, 1.5, your employer doubles. Then the informal sector, 1.5, who doubles for you? How are you going to deduct it? Those are the issues that were raised.
And like I said, it is the process.
Yes, those are the issues were raised. And those issues, we proposed amendments of Azimio. By the way, Azimio is not against the housing levy. You know why? If you read Azimio manifesto, and Chairman is talking about what is our proposal. The Azimio manifesto proposes housing program, affordable housing program. And in our proposal, we said that we shall work closely with the county government. Remember, housing is a concurrent function.
It's a devolved function.
Yes, actually it's a concurrent function. Other than policy and issues, it's more of a devolved function.
Yes.
Then we said we shall also enhance, we shall also look into the issues of zero rating some of those building materials and work with local manufacturers. We said that the issues of land is a very important issue. We shall go to the county and check with the county government. When they proposed this, the National Land Commission came out and made a red flag and said, we are likely to see a situation where there's going to be a contestation between the national government and the county government on the land that these houses are going to be built. Yesterday, the Senate passed this housing levy bill, and therefore, it is going to be a law. Now, we are saying we made an attempt to amend. Senator Okongo Omogeni, Azimio Senator, proposed that instead of taxing the entire amount, please tax the net. Instead of making it mandatory for everyone who is salaried, why don't you look at those who have got mortgage arrangement, exempt them? They refused. As I said, we left them to their devices, but we wish them the best. And lastly, Chep, we know for sure that these housing or any other tax, Kenyans need them to run the programs. That is true. But you cannot overtax your people to prosperity. President William Ruto himself, during his days in the opposition, he used to condemn all these things. Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wah, in the run-up to the 2022 general election, even threatened to call for maandamano, that the cost of fuel was high. Those records, you have them as media. And chairman is saying that it's only us who are making noise. You know, politics demands that when things don't work for you, you make noise so that they work for you and your people. And that's what they were doing then. Today, they are finding themselves in the same scenario where the cost of living is high, not only because of taxes, but because of even fuel cost, because of mismanagement, because of corruption, because of wastages, and so on and so forth. And that's why in the recommendation of NADCO, I'll take you back there, the NADCO report recommends austerity measures that even the government themselves, if today the chairman was to travel to US, for example, more than 4 hours flight, that's the only time he can be allowed to use a business class. But when chairman is traveling to Kisumu, why would he use a business class? He should use economy. And also those travels are limited. 50% travel cuts. Then the budget on supplies, office, mandazi, chai, 30%. You see, austerity measures. And then the parliament has been advised, or the recommendation that they look at the laws that touch on corruption so that we minimize wastages. President William Ruto has been traveling all over, and he tells us that he's traveling to look for investment, to look for job opportunities for Kenyans. Fair enough. But we are saying, Mr. President, with all due respect, you can do that. Some of them you don't need to travel with big delegations. You can send a representative, or you can do them virtually. What we are saying, we are willing to work with President William Ruto to save this country from going down. The race to the bottom is real. From the Auditor General report you can see. The Auditor General report is the only institution, or is only report that confirms whether public money has been used lawfully or efficiently. The Auditor General has been giving reports that there are wastages. Then there is the control of budget. Yes. After every 4 months has been giving report on how the budget is being implemented. You noticed that there are even instances where the government and the county governments together using very little money for development, while there is the PFM Act, and Chairman here knows the percentage that should go to development, 30%. Yes. So what we are saying, Chairman, is for us, now that issues have cooled down, you have settled, President is in place, the government is in place, is appointing his people, we are asking you, look back. In your agenda, the bottom-up agenda, there are certain promises that William Ruto made to the people. Those promises are not coming by. Not because the economy is hard worldwide, but because he thought that it would be easy. It is not easy. I'll give you an example. The issue of gender. President William Ruto, when he was campaigning, then he was deputy president, said that in his government, the cabinet will be 50-50 women. Today, they are not there. He thought it would be easy, even where he has the power. What was stopping President Ruto from taking 50% of the cabinet to be women? Where he has power? He could not do that because he has a lot of people that he must reward because of the campaigns that he did. So he understands that. But we are saying now, the NADCO report, together with the multi-sector working group, has proposed a formula of achieving the 2/3 gender. No, are we not working together or not? President
Okango, also I give it to the president, for two things. One, the ambassadorial appointments the other day.
I agree.
10 women ambassadors, 6 deputies.
I agree.
And also the memo to parliament in his, I think, first 100 days.
That's why I'm saying.
Part of his agenda was the 2/3 gender rule implementation.
Let me tell you,
Parliament.
Chep, as I finish so the chairman can pick from there. President William Ruto, when he got into office, the first thing he did, he sent a memo to the bicameral house.
Yes.
And in his memo, there was the creation of Office of the Leader of Opposition, entrenchment of the CDF, NGCF, and Senate Oversight Fund, yes, and the creation of the Prime Minister. And he did that deliberately because he knows that he needs the support of members of parliament. And therefore, the issue of CDF must be captured. The issue of NGAF must be captured, but also to impress on the opposition that, you know, you can criticize me, I can give you an office. In our issues. We never talked about office of the opposition leader. That was Kenya Kwanza. We never talked about issue of prime minister, but because they wanted to validate and entrench the PCS, prime cabinet secretary, that now Mudavadi is holding, they needed to do that. But that is not the issue here. The issue is, how do we progress as a nation? We are going to progress as a nation if we agree that we have challenges. And of lately, President William Ruto has been agreeing that for sure we do have challenges. And that's why I'm saying, Chairman, in these fights, it is not about personality. I'm not going to criticize William Ruto as an individual, but I'll criticize William Ruto as an institution that has got people like Chairman who work with him, so that going forward, the people who are watching us and listening to us can also know that in the event that something goes wrong, we highlighted it. We offered an alternative. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Chairman,
You know,
I can see that your notebook is full.
I think we need to talk less than we can have. Anyway, Okango said that President William Ruto promised 50-50 cabinet for women. During campaigns, as we campaign, there are covenants, there are promises, there are proposals, there are suggestions, and then there is campaign pep talk.
So, Chairman, what are you saying? This was campaign pep talk.
I am saying some of these things, we say them in the course of campaign.
But it was in your women charter.
Wait a minute. We say them in the course of campaign. When we finally win and face things as they are, the variables before us cannot. The variables before us. You see, you can say, I am going to build this kind of a house because you see the stones, because the stones are enough. Then you find the cement you have is not enough. So there are things that has to be implemented, but if they were covenant, written and agreed between those people, this is what to do, we will do it. Then there are those that cannot be implemented on day one. There are those which will be implemented after 2 years, after 3 years, on the second term, and so on. All this would be done. Now, my brother had said that when things go wrong, you have to make noise. There's no profound statement that he made like that. You have to make noise. But you don't have to destroy property. If you go to Kisumu, in the main street that Uhuru sent some minister to go and say it looks like Europe, you find glass buildings are punctured. And they can't be repaired now very easily because that wall is all glass and you need things to climb there. If you go to Homa Bay, buildings are punctured. Private, not public. If you go to Migori, if you go to Oyukis, Maseno, that destruction, there is nothing that came out of that Mandanganyo that can compensate for that destruction. Of 31 boys from one town called Kisumu, there is nothing that came from that Mandanganyo that can compensate those families. Make noise, but don't destroy lives and property. We must then... Okango was saying that when we were implementing the 1.5 housing levy, we should have looked around for those people who have mortgage arrangements and so on. Tax paid to develop housing is not money paid for hire purchase. You are not paying tax for hire purchase. What is 1.5% for a house? We are collecting tax from all Kenyans to benefit one section of Kenyans. That is how taxes work. We collect taxes to build roads, but we know not everyone uses the roads or have cars. We collect taxes to take people to school. Not a big percentage of Kenyans need that. So taxes are collected and then sections of society benefit for sections of that money. So we can't, when I was in school, when I was in Form 4, a levy was introduced to buy a school bus. Me with my then Form 4 head, I called a meeting and said, we can't pay for the bus. Because
you were the insider you were talking about.
That one I have to admit. So when we agreed, and we were feeling so logical, we were feeling such achievers. We are going, so we don't have to pay for the bus that we bought, we are gone. So my principal then was called Mr. Were. So he called me and asked me so many things that were in the school that I was using that I didn't pay a cent to buy.
And you found them there?
Yes, I found them there, and I would leave them for other people to come and use them. And that logic went into my head. So he told me, from today, I have suspended you for 2 weeks. And the exam is beginning on Monday, and it was Friday. But I looked at his eyes and noticed he didn't mean it. So I didn't go home. I was in class the next day. Then Okango said that President William Ruto was the deputy of Uhuru Kenyatta. He was the principal CG of Uhuru Kenyatta. Let me tell you, in this country, deputies have no portfolio. They are principal assistants to the substantive leaders. They can only act, not even take over. They can only act when the principal is away. There is no decision that a deputy will stop the president from making.
But Chairman, on the same breath,
yes,
even if there is no decision that they can stop the president from making, they are aware of the decision.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Because what has been coming out is, it is like right now, if a young man is talking to me, and maybe, or even an older man, and he has a wife, hapo mbele nikienda inirambe, I will be there saying, oh, but I didn't know. No, you knew. You understand? So when I come to ask for the job, Chairman, I know ni nini nimewacha pale ndani. I know the kind of mess, as they put it, that had been created. So from the point of knowledge, don't you think even the campaign promises, as you've said, covenants and what did you call them? Pep talks could have been better? Because you know the situation and you know what kind of job you're asking for and what you're getting yourself into.
Let me tell you, we are dealing with, when you are campaigning, you are aware you are dealing with Okango at the top, and at the bottom you are dealing with a man who never even passed class 2. And that you still have one message for all of them. So we cannot filter our message to absolute clarity of what we needed, because we are on a campaign mode with everybody on site. But we also must accept a few things. That in the Azimio side, their role model is Raila Odinga. So sometimes you will allow us to tell us those things that you are using to accuse Ruto of. Does Raila Odinga also do them? You tell us President William Ruto promised this and he didn't promise this and he didn't do. Raila Odinga even breaks constitutions of his own political party that says we will go for nomination this way, we will do this that way, and they are never done. This is a man who has perfected the art of circumventing the laws of this country. First of all, he bungles his own election and his own people. So when he gets to the National Assembly or the Senate, he has less numbers. What does he do? He goes to the streets. From the streets, they create their own parliament called NADCO. And they go and agree on issues there. Once they have agreed on issues there, and they have a report there from people now not elected by the people, appointed by them, he comes and reads a press statement telling us, NADCO is a negotiated document. It should go to parliament and pass without debate. What nonsense. This is a democratic...
That's not
please.
true.
No. Just quiet. You'll get time. Look, until you come and tell us the people you appointed has decided something, we take it to parliament, to the people we elected, to pass it without debate. We can debate it, but we can also, the same way we are negotiating at NADCO, negotiate with MPs, please, do not change this because of ABCD. But we must admit that our parliaments are superior to NADCO. We cannot overrun and overrule parliament using NADCO. But this is something Raila has perfected. He started it so wakati wa Moi, that people sit somewhere outside parliament, agree on things, take them to parliament, and pass them without debate. So even if you struggle as his opponent to get more MPs, get more senators, so that you will have democracy in parliament, he will go to the streets and circumvent your democracy. But earlier, I heard Mr. Okango say that, Raila has a lot of network in Africa. Do not confuse fame with network. Raila is famous in Africa but has no network. Who can he run to? You know, President William Ruto came and announced when the East African Assembly was here that all the East African community countries have agreed to support Raila Odinga.
But you saw Obasanjo come into the country.
Wait a minute, I'll get there. That all the East African community presidents have accepted to support Raila Odinga. Then the next day, Raila Odinga is in Rwanda. A member of the East Africa community that the president had announced, let him go to a proper network that help. Let's see he's in Egypt, let's see he's in Chad, let's see he's in Algeria. But going to Obasanjo, where he has a historical relationship. You know, the history of Raila Odinga and Obasanjo are so uncannily similar that you think they are blood brothers. Leader coup in the first instant, come back and fight. It's only that Obasanjo succeeded in all his, and Raila failed in all his. He failed in his coup, he failed in his elections. But Obasanjo passed. But they are uncannily similar. And when you bring Obasanjo, an opposition leader in Nigeria who doesn't even vote, and bring him to announce your position here, instead of bringing Museveni to announce or Kagame, stop talking about networks. Let President William Ruto help Raila Odinga to get the AU chairmanship. He will get it for sure.
All right. And today I am loving the discussion kwa sababu naona hata itabidi niwatafutie notebook ingine. The way the homework is being handled, I like it.
That tells you the caliber of the panel.
Discussion. Yes, correct. No, that one.
No, when I heard I was coming here with Okango, I was very satisfied that we are going to have
and a good panelist must take notes of what the co-panel is saying so that he can respond.
No, the issues to respond to. Anyway, Okango, before you come in, let me just introduce the next conversation because we've been alluding to it and touching on it.
Sure.
The NADCO report.
Okay.
Because I feel like the NADCO report is a replica of the BBI. Mm-hmm. Most of the components that are in the NADCO report were in the proposals for the BBI. Mm-hmm. So we saw during the BBI we had the proponents and the opponents. Mm-hmm. But somehow, in the NADCO report, as chairman would say, in our overall parliament, we are seeing that it's being accepted. Even Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary was part of the proposals for the BBI,
it was Prime Minister
which was strongly opposed by the Kenya Kwanza side. But somehow now, miracles, as we know in this country, also happen. So as you respond to the issues of chairman, let us introduce the NADCO report. Also seeing as to you are part of the technical committee that was doing the report. You can also highlight for us some of the issues that you would like Kenyans to know about and to take note of.
No problem. Let me very fast address some of the two issues that chairman said, which to me I think differently. When I said that President William Ruto was the principal assistant, I actually meant it because he was. And you know, decisions are not made by the president alone. Policy decisions, some of them are made in cabinet. But what is the composition of the national executive as the provision of Article 130? It says the national executive shall consist of the deputy president, the president, and the cabinet. Then again, it goes to the cabinet, Article 152. What is the composition of the cabinet? The president, the deputy president, attorney general, and not more than 22 cabinet secretaries.
Constitutionally, that office is protected.
It is protected, and the occupant participates in decision making that are far-reaching. And that's why I believe that President William Ruto, when he was the deputy president then, he participated. The war that they had between him and Uhuru notwithstanding, he was a key player in the governance of this country. Now, let's go to the NADCO report. Number one, Chep, I want our viewers and listeners to know, why did William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga agree to go the NADCO way? NADCO is not parliament, as chairman puts it. NADCO was a committee that was meant to address the issues of concern to the people. The people are William Ruto's people, are Raila Amolo Odinga's people, are the Kenyan people. And NADCO was a formation as a result of resolution by the bicameral house. What does the House or Parliament represent? The people. So NADCO is about the people. Me, chairman, you, and the people out there. That is it. Now let's look at this issue. Is it true that Kenya Kwanza wants IEBC in place? Yes. Is it true that Azimio want IEBC in place? Yes. In any case, today, we still have a by-election that is pending in Banisa.
Yes.
Now, it followed, therefore, that all the two formations and the people of Kenya wanted it. And I was there. The people came with the issues on the issue of electoral justice and related matters. And they said, number one, we must not only reconstitute IBC, but we must restructure it. How? They said in the recommendation that number one, let's first of all expand the panel that is going to reconstitute IEBC. Why was that important? To make it inclusive. So today, the political liaison, PPLC has a stake, LSK has a stake, Interreligious Council has a stake, majority party, minority party. It is multi-sectoral and more inclusive than before. Number two, what were the qualifications for becoming a commissioner? We have introduced, or the NADCO report suggests and recommends that because our electoral are largely technical and there's a bit of accounting in it, why don't we introduce as a professional qualification accounting and ICT as part of it? Again, that has been put there. If you look at all this, the other issue was on IBC Amendment Act. By the way, the NADCO report did not only come as a report, it came with 9 legislative instruments. One of them is IBC Amendment Bill, which has been published. Ethic and Corruption Bill, which has been published. Those 2 bills have been published and they'll be passed. Now, this report outlines so many things, and it comes with deadlines. If you look at the IBC report, or the IBC Amendment Bill that is a part of NADCO, it suggests that we must amend, or we should amend Section 6 of the IBC Act to provide for the qualifications I've said. But also we must amend the Constitution of Kenya, Article 138(2), to give clear guidance on the role of the Commission in verifying the presidential results before declaration by the chairman. That was the issue in the Cherera 4 versus Chepkoech 3.
The problem with this country is also we over-legislate. But where we draw the line is on the implementation.
I agree.
And accountability.
I agree. We over-legislate, but over-legislation also requires that you can repeal, you can amend. Most of the bills that are presented before Parliament, they are not new bills. In fact, the only new bill that was introduced is the bill that talks about leader of opposition bill. The rest are amendments of existing bills and very minor sections, because the only way to make a policy implementable, you must make it into a legislation. And then there was the issue of audit that Chairman talked about. In our constitution, and the Chairman has been a member of Parliament, he knows that the law mandates IEBC to do 3 things: monitor, observe, to facilitate, and evaluate. All through, IEBC has never evaluated the elections. They facilitate observation and they facilitate monitoring. In evaluation, Chep, as I finish on that, we are saying that the IEBC after every election must evaluate their performance so that they can make it accountable, that we're talking about, efficient, transparent, simple, and all these things that we want to see. That is why that is important. We are not going to audit the election to remove William Ruto from power. No, we are not going to audit the election to see who lost, who won. No, we are past that. What we are doing now is for prosperity. We are saying the election must be conducted according to the dictates of the general principle of electoral system. Number 3, boundary delimitation. That is coming, so that I give Chairman opportunity to proceed. The boundary delimitation, we know. The law says that we ought to have done that between 8 to 12 years. The 12th year is ending this month. We have to do a review. There's a constitutional crisis if we don't do that. The NADCO report recommends that in the event that the provision of 89.2 that requires that we redo boundary delimitation in the review of the constituency and wards, if there is a reason that is justifiable that we are not able to, as at now we are not able to, then Parliament shall extend that period through majority of the National Assembly and the Senate. I can ask people in their faces and tell them, even if we were to put IBC in place today, Chairman, we will not do boundary review because time is gone. So we have to find a way through legislation, Chep, to overcome that hurdle. I believe that this report, first of all, is a report that is very good for this country in the sense that there are certain things that we need. We need IEBC in place. Let's do that. We need a political party that is disciplined, a political party that follows the ideology, a political party that when you are elected in, you don't jump and say, I am following the ideology of UDA while you are ODM or you are Wiper. That is what we have seen before.
Thank you so much. Chairman, I'm going to give you a chance in a minute. As I was talking about over legislation, accountability in this country, apart from implementation, is an issue. Because with IEBC, for example, the issues that have been raised every election cycle have almost been the same. Case in point, in 2017, when Ariran was declared, because there had been issues that had been raised, and it was found by the courts, the Supreme Court to be specific, that this was shambles. We need to redo it. How come nobody was held accountable? Because the IEBC chairman, as we know, is the chief presidential returning officer.
Is the returning officer.
You understand?
The presidential.
How is it that they are not held accountable for these actions? Because remember, apart from just not only going back to the polls, we are also losing billions in these elections. That is one. Two, another issue of implementation is on the campaign financing bill. Just when before it is election, that is when members of parliament will caucus to ensure that they put it down. The other thing, and I'm glad you mentioned ORPP and IEBC. Our institutions need to be held accountable for their actions. Because when I join a political party, if I join political party chairman and I am vying with it in this constituency, this is Dagoretti North, I get into parliament, but I decide to go and cross over because Fred Okango has won Okango party, I cross to that. Legally. That is very unconstitutional because if my ideologies change from chairman party, it means I resign and seek for that mandate afresh to vie with party Okango. But we don't see that happening. And we want to use it loosely to say it is democracy. No, it is not. We are killing democracy slowly because we are not allowing the instruments of the rule of law to govern us. The other thing about ORPP and IBC, and this is where I have a big problem, especially when it comes to SIGs, special interest groups. We have about over 20 counties that do not have PWD representation in the county assemblies because of how we manipulate the lists that go to IBC. We saw IEBC was very strong in telling political parties that we are not going to accept your lists if the representation of women of SIG groups is not more than 30%. What do political parties do in that case? They decide they are going to give SIG groups party tickets on places that are not strongholds. So to IEBC we have complied. But the numbers will never translate in the National Assembly or even county assemblies kwa sababu munapeana ticket mahali, we don't care whether we win or lose because we know in this country there are some places when you have the party ticket, it's as good as being in parliament.
Yes.
You understand? So how are we able to make sure these institutions do what they are supposed to do? Because the buck has to stop somewhere. We cannot keep throwing blame. IBC wakikujiwa wanasema hapana sio sisi ni WPP. Au wakikujiwa I mean, what is it? Sisi watoto bwana.
You know, Chep. The very people in this country who call themselves kings of democracy, kings of the rule of law, enigmas and all that, are the breakers of these things. Let me tell you. Take, for example, ODM. Mm-hmm. ODM nominates Mbadi, John Mbadi, who has been an MP for 3 terms, but leaves Denita Gatti, who
represents
who is
PWD.
disabled, and who is also a woman, and who fits that USIG. And that is replicated so many times. They even once nominated Oburu, they even once people who do not deserve any nomination. They have no good reason to be nominated. So let us not really pin down the government all the time when the very people who are supposed to bring them to account does worse. In issues of boundary delimitation, we are late.
Yes, we are.
But we must blame Azimio.
You said the blame has to go somewhere.
Not has to go somewhere. Look how they did it. When did we set up this committee to appoint IBC? It is Azimio that resisted. And they are resisting the same method that they used to appoint the Cherera for. But now that the shoe is on the other leg, now they don't want that method. They want it to go to NADCO, come back, expand the team, make it inclusive and so on. Yet even going forward, the returning officer is only one person, the chair. The results come from polling stations, direct to Bomas, and the returning officer announces. During this moment, the other commissioners have no use. In fact, when I had when I saw Okango standing behind Raila Odinga as he said, the 4 people were with us. They only had the 3, so we won. You even wonder if it is these 7 people who are voting. People had voted in my village. The votes had reached here. The job of the commissioners was to stand behind Chebukati as he announces the results which had come from home. And sometimes you even wonder, at what point are these votes stolen? Because people vote, and when they are voting, you have your agents inside the voting hall. You have them during counting. They are counted. They are recorded in their presence and they signed. And one is pinned One is pinned on the door. One is taken to Bomas after being transmitted through the system. That transmission through the system is purely to keep the country informed. It is not the one that is transmitted to go and be counted at Bomas. That, after the Maina Kiai report, that was the deal. Now, you have your copy. Wajakoya has his copy. Waiga Mwaure has his copy. Ruto has his copy. And you still tell us that yours has been changed. Get Waige Mwaura, your friends, or get Wajakoya's and see if it is also changed. Let us not take people to the street through fraud. This NADCO was formed through fraud. Because how was it formed through fraud? You took people to the streets through fraud, and from the streets, NADCO was born. Now, let's go back in line as this audit.
The election audit?
Yes. Mm-hmm. After every election, we go to the streets, we claim theft, and we demand audit. We go to and even when the audit is ended at the Supreme Court and you are told, okay, it was stolen, now go back. Then you say, no, I don't want to go back. 2017, we went through a very rigorous process. Process, and then we even collected money from the people using pay bills. We did go for that election, and we didn't return the money. So let us be honest, people. We can't keep on praising people when they do many more worse things and we don't tell them about that. And when you tell them, you are told you are insulting them. There's no insult when you are told the truth. The truth is as pinchy as the insult. So don't mistake the pinchiness of the truth with that of the insult. And then, this idea of talking about verifying the presidential results. Mm-hmm. My brother, the system that we used in the last general election, nothing can be more perfect. Because even those from 34As that got to Bomas and Bs, each candidate were to take his people to that Bomas hall, to go through them, to verify that they are the true ones. And the people out there who are told to go to the street think I should walk there with the forms carrying here. No, scan them. Put them in your phone or in your laptop. Go to Bomas. Let's take constituency by constituency. As Chebukati opens his, you also open yours. The other 4 candidates open theirs, and we agree those are the results. We did not do that, but we went telling the people that our votes were stolen. That is fraud. Your votes were not stolen because you did not even have results. You did not even have a tallying center. If you don't have a tallying center and you tell people, where did you get the results to know you are ahead? So let us be honest. Dishonesty is not good because you are taking people who are already radicalized, who are already your supporters. That is why you see people fight in sports. Your supporters think it was handball, his supporters think it wasn't. That is natural. So let us not go to things that we don't bring evidence. This restructuring of IEBC, expand to make it exclusive, see amendment the bill. I think we are just being dishonest. All these laws, the same party who demands their amendment, their expansions, their review, is the same one who passed. Even now, if we go and pass NADCO report as it is, after the next general election, he will go to the streets, come back and say some things have to be amended, some things have to be changed. Let us have a predictable nation. A nation where we know after you win or lose, we wait for the next contest. Not sub-contests in between where property is destroyed, people get killed, and when people get killed, we again go ahead to blame the government of the day. It is called disruption. It is not opposition. It is not governance. So, my brother.
Thank you, Chairman. Okango.
Let me say this, then
Okay.
My brother said that NADCO is for the people.
By the people.
Wait, you don't complete my sentence. NADCO is for the people, and true, I agree. But Parliament is for the people, by the people. It is the people who created Parliament. NADCO is for the people created for them by their leaders who are not so honest anyway.
You know, Chep, I like Chairman's thought process. Chairman knows the truth. But because he's a politician like me, he must navigate the truth so that
you people, number one, you like selling hope, and number two, you know how to appeal to people's emotions. So you will use the right words.
Let me tell you, Chep, let me go back to issue of fraud. And I'll start from NADCO. It is President William Ruto and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that agreed that given the situation in this country, given the reforms that are necessary, and this was after even William Ruto had presented a memorandum to the bicameral house, it is only necessary that we go back to the people and ask them what would be their input in the views that we are tabling.
So
and
you're
that is
saying
called participation of the people.
The source of
the NADCO was from William Ruto and Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So if Honorable Odoyo want to call it a fraud, then he's as well calling William Ruto a fraud. Number two, on the issue of fraud, there can never be a bigger fraud than a member of parliament who has got legislative capacity, representation capacity, and oversight capacity, and elected on an ideology that the people told him, for us, we want you to go to parliament as Azimio representative, as ODM representative, as CAN representative. And our ideology is that strengthen devolution, fight corruption, make women inclusive. Then you go to a formation that do not believe in that, and you say you are looking for maendeleo. You are a big fraud. The other thing is on the delimitation that the chairman is talking about. Even if, assuming there was no mandamano, there was nothing, and the panel that was exclusive go into place and do this, do you know, in the last boundary review, the procedure for delimitation lapsed. So it means that we must bring in a new procedure. That would still require amendment of the IBC Act, Schedule 5. And he knows that. It still requires. Then there is the issue of political parties you raised. The protection of special interest groups. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 100, demands of the members of parliament that they must facilitate and promote the representation of the women, youth, people with a disability, and the ethnic minority. The provision that NADCO has brought in place through a recommendation, first of all, changes the structure of the office of the Register of Political Parties and calls it IPPRC, Independent Political Parties Regulatory Commission, so that you start looking at it as an independent institution that has got no influence from outside. Number two, you look at the functions. How are they related to the provisions in Article 100, Provision 27, and so on and so forth, and even 81 that demands of the gender presentation of those lists that you're talking about. So in my view, this report, and I want to persuade our listeners and viewers, this report is not about Raila. It is not about Ruto. This report is about Kenyans. The NADCO sittings had 42 sittings. The stakeholders' engagement, they had got written memoranda of 780. They had got submissions, oral, 248, and experts, and so many people. I can tell you, Chep, the quality of input in that report came from the people. And they said that this is what we want to see. Honorable Odoyo Owidi knows that when the people speak, the country speaks. And that's why when he's listening, when he's speaking here, he's speaking to a constituency that he would want to inform them of certain issues. The constituency tells him, no, this is what we want. In our view, as I finish, it is important that we look at the report as a product of the people. And if anyone has an issue, and there's a misconception that the report should not be debated. Chairman says so. No. Raila Amolo Odinga never said the report should not be debated. What we said, in the framework agreement, there's a provision called what we call protection of consensus. Protection of consensus means that if the parties have agreed on an issue, for example, how to restructure IEBC, and that issue has been canvassed through coalition ranks, Kenya Kwanza, Azimio, and the people, then that part or issue is ring-fenced from amendment. However, the members of parliament, using their discretion, imagination, and creativity, can look at issues of concern and enrich it. So it is not cast on stones, but don't go far from it and make it or delete it and make it not work. Lastly, the role of the commission in verifying the presidential election that is talking about. The Cherera 4 and the Chebukati 3 differed. They differed on the issue of the results. Chebukati came with these results, Cherera 4 came with their results. That is a foregone case. What we are interested in the 2027 contest, we don't want to see a Cherera 4 versus a Chebukati 3. We want to see a commission that is functional. How do you make commission functional? You must give a commission work. In the Supreme Court, and Honorable here followed it because I know he was following. We were with him in one of the Nini when he was following. When you look at that issue, the Supreme Court actually raised an issue. What was the role of the commission in verifying these results?
Yeah.
That is a question that was raised.
Because it is part of their job.
Now, Chebukati announced these results himself and he said these are the results. So NADCO recommends that give the commission a role in Article 138(2) and say that in doing so, they shall participate in the verification but leave that
the announcing part
to the returning officer of presidential election, which is the chairperson. Declaration
but
now.
You see, it has to be a unanimous decision.
Not necessarily. You see, you don't need to agree, but facts must speak for themselves. If it is verification, it has been verified how my vote traveled from my polling station in Kabondo Kasipul all the way to Bomas, how it traveled. It must be factual. And Odoyo knows that. So what we are saying, we're not saying that we'll wake up and go to the sea because it was not verified. No, we are saying, let's put these things behind us, Mheshimiwa. As we put them behind us, let's craft a formula that is agreeable. You know, we want an IBC that is believable, an IBC that is widely acceptable, an IBC that is accountable.
By and large, the issue in this country, and I think even with the political class, is the trust.
Yes.
Because if you cannot trust the referee, like you said, mwingine atakuwa anasema ni handball, mwingine atakuwa anasema ni offside, yet you are all playing in the same
But you know,
field.
we have a VAR. What do you call it? VAR. We have a VAR that must speak. So what you are trying to fix here, Mheshimiwa,
VAR is the verification.
Azimio walikuwa wanataka tufungue VAR. So anyway, Chairman, I want you to come in and I want to guide. So as you will be giving your comments on his about his conversation, I want us to bring in what President Ruto talked about during the launch of the G7. That is the Women Governors Caucus. And he said that in the future, and in the future being, the future in this case being 2027, is that the running mate would likely be a woman. Because we've seen him champion for women agendas, for women, the women agenda. And that one I have to give it to President Ruto, because he's being very intentional. And I think what lacked previously was the political goodwill. And so this time we have the political goodwill, and we hope that good things will come. So, Chairman, in light to that, what does that mean for his current deputy? Because as we know in this country, such pronouncements don't come, they come very heavily. And we feel like they keep us in a campaign mood, because sasa tunaanza kuangaliana suspiciously.
Midterm contest.
Ama kwani chairman ameamua anachukua nani? And if we are talking about a woman, who is the most likely candidate? Because that was a big conversation in the 2022 elections.
I will come there. Let's be factual on a few things. The Cherera 4. Okango said they had results, then ran away. That is besides the point. They did not have them. In fact, the results they displayed at Serena were the ones that Chepkoech attended at Bomas. The only thing they were trying to do, because they were not mathematicians, they were wondering why when they add them, they are more by 0.02.
And that's why we have expanded the chairmanship to include accounting, so that you get the math right.
You don't need an accounting to understand that when you round off a number, in the process of rounding off, you create an error. If you round it off to the nearest 2 decimal places, the error is to nearest 3 decimal places. So that error must be there. So if you
margin of error,
that answer that they were displaying at, if you rounded it off back to 1 decimal place, the error would disappear.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it is. Because 2 and the next one is 0, you leave it as it is.
Okay.
So that was just lack of mathematics, because when Uhuru and Raila were selecting the Cherera form, that time Ruto had been told aende atangatange. They got just anybody they got. So let's leave that. NADCO, I said NADCO, this is where I want to explain something. You remember when we had the BBI?
Yes.
It was NASA and Jubilee, isn't it? So NASA and the Jubilee took it upon themselves to go to Bomas and come up with some BBI and then force it on the people. But do we consider what happens when NASA and Jubilee become one party called Azimio? Where does that leave the rest of Kenyans? Yet, we come there, we were going to say BBI has been passed, so let it go to parliament and be passed without amendment because it is negotiated. This negotiated by people who are appointed from a section of Kenyans by leaders cannot be representative of the people. BBI would have been a disaster, because later KK was born and it became the largest political party in the country, and they were already left out of the BBI thing because Jubilee was controlled by Uhuru and NASA was controlled by Raila, and the two appointed their people and they came up with their BBI. So if we went that and say this is for the people, the same way NADCO is Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, isn't it?
Yes.
What about if another person got out and came with a bigger juggernaut than KK and Azimio put together? Where does that leave those Kenyans? So Parliament is the only thing that is representative, legally, morally, and socially, because it pinches from every section of Kenya, divided in 290 constituencies, and they send their representative to that house. So even if they change parties, their representative is still there. But this NADCO, they only represent the interest of those two protagonists. So NADCO has to be approved by Parliament that it can go the way it is, or it can be amended. You cannot usurp the powers of Parliament using a club of a few people sitting at led by Okango. No. Now let me go to something which is very painful. This idea that there are some MPs who have defected and they can't go back to the people. No MP has defected. Kenya is democratic, and that is why even in Parliament, where we know these people belong to Azimio and this one belong to Kenya Kwanza, we still vote because we still believe if we convince them enough, Azimio can vote with the government. If we convince them enough, government can vote where Azimio wants. And he has even told us of some MPs who went campaigning against the finance bill, the finance act that was put there. So this is a democratic country. The fact that you are elected on ODM, it doesn't mean you have to take instructions from the ODM leader to vote. You must take instructions only from your people to vote. And even those people, you cannot entirely take instructions from them because you can't bring them together to give you one instruction. That is why they elected you as their representative, so that your ideas and suggestions and whatever else is closest to theirs. So people, just by somebody visiting State House, does not make him a defector. The State House is William Ruto. William Ruto is the very one who was looking after cattle in Uganda with Raila Odinga. So the fact that we are close to the very government of the day does not make us defectors. The MPs who are working with Kenya Kwanza, where necessary, are not defectors. The only thing, the mistake they are making, they want to confuse people who refuse to take instructions from Raila Odinga as defectors. You must refuse to take instructions which are illegal, which are unlawful. Even policemen are commanded that if your senior brings an illegal command, don't obey it. So if Raila Odinga brings unpopular, unnecessary, illegal, self-serving instructions, don't take it. Take the one that will serve your people. So we come back to your president saying that in future,
I might be the running mate.
Yes. So let me tell you something about that.
Yeah.
There's a time here when I told you, when a politician speaks, there are covenants, there are suggestions.
And pep talks.
There are pep talks. And let me tell you what pep talks are. When I sit with young men, I talk things that pleases them. When President William Ruto meets women, he brings in a suggestion.
No, but that is deception, Chairman.
No, he brings in a suggestion. Why don't we in future have that when the president is a man, the running mate is a woman? That we say every day. That we say all the time. So, when I am a keynote speaker at a function that is all ladies, I can't start talking about men. I can't start talking about others.
But you also don't have to lie.
It's not a lie. The president suggested that, and he means it. And he didn't say the time. It is you I heard was trying to suggest that it's 2027. It can even be 2052. It can be any time in the future. But there's also something I don't like about this gender thing. Mm-hmm. In Kenya, we talked about the 2/3 gender rule.
Yes.
It is in the constitution. To date, it is not implemented.
The implementation.
It is not implemented. And that parliament has even women lawyers. It looks like, therefore, it is impossible to implement.
It is not impossible.
I think the wording needs to be reviewed. If it is not impossible, why is it not implemented over 10 years later?
And that's why I said the difference this time around is that there's political goodwill.
Good.
Because all these things, Chairman, are a political process.
Good.
Because you are an opposition MP, you are a government MP. Your leader will whip you to either vote for or against. That's why you have the majority and minority leaders in parliament, right? And something that does not speak to my interest as a party leader, what do I do? So it is a political process. The difference this time around, because the framework has always remained the same. If you go through all those bills, from the Duale one to the Chepkoech, the framework has always been the same. It is the process of the voting that has been the issue.
And remember, as you pray that thing gets implemented one way or the other, remember also there is also Article 27. Okango knows that it is very serious on trying to discriminate on any section of society.
Yes.
We men are also not going to be allowed to be discriminated against.
And that's why it's called a gender bill. It's not a woman bill.
Okay.
Because
Number two, let's be honest. If the reason why we have affirmative action, why we try to legislate elections into parliament because women are disadvantaged. What are we doing
to empower?
To help the girl child as she grows from age 1 to become an adult, so that when she becomes an adult, she will be able to play, to compete at par with the male gender. What are we doing? We are doing nothing. The only things we are doing are those that are going to favor the adult woman, the ones that are going to favor some octogenarians that want political seats. Let us start from nursery school and say we are going to ensure that this and this happens to the girl child and the boy child in equal measure, so that then when they become adults, they can compete at par. But again, they cannot compete at par because this is creation. The God created them with different equipment and gadgets on their bodies. They can't, with different strength and weight, different energies, different thinking capacities.
This is the issue I have with the gender bill.
Yes.
It is not the biology. Remove the biology out of it.
Okay, let's remove it.
It is the actual gender. And when I like what you say, that we need first to empower from a young age.
Yes.
So that we ensure, as you're growing, you know that regardless of my gender,
yes,
I can. That is one.
Exactly.
But 2, leveling the playing field means a lot of things in this country. Because we have seen how elections can go. And we have seen how elections can be. So leveling the playing field, it can even go back to what I said, the campaign finance bill. You understand? Because as a patriarchal society, who are the custodians of the wealth? It is the men.
Yes.
As a patriarchal society, and there's a very rhetorical, almost subconscious thing that people say. It could be said very
informally.
Yes. But, you know, when they say the man is the head, the woman is the neck, what are you trying to say?
Are you trying to rewrite the Bible?
No, I am not rewriting the Bible. How all these things are interpretive. The same way the Constitution, you can interpret differently, and even the Bible. But what it has gone to do is to inculcate in us that there's a superior gender. My issue for level playing field is make the elections, the campaign field safe. Ensure that the money that we use to campaign can be capped. So that as I am going in to vie for Dagoretti North, I know I need, for example, 10 million. I don't need to go and steal or to go and borrow or to go and beg. I can save to vie for that seat. It also means that political parties have to be fair in how they issue their tickets. Because the major owners of political parties are the men. And sometimes that's where women are disadvantaged. So my issue for level playing field is not in the biology. It is in the process to that election day.
Okay, let me make a small response so that Okango can come in.
No problem.
First of all, when we talk about let's make the playing field level and so on, you can't run away from biology. You will not run away. Even the violence that is there, it is the biology that makes the woman weaker in that violence. So that biology will remain there, and because we cannot change it, we will probably compensate it some other way. But let's also do this. We are not going to have these affirmative action laws and regulations forever. If women are worth competing with men at par, let's try to do what will make that happen. And you see, instead of women championing these rules, laws, and regulation of implementing the gender rule, they must also champion how the girl child will be able to play at par, to compete at par with the boy child in adulthood in the future. Some of those things where women find themselves today in the whole world is not just historical. It is almost creation. We cannot overnight overturn them by making some legislation, some rules. Let's just take the walk and say, this is how the child will behave. This is what privileges they will have equal, or even make the girls have better, so that in future, because, you know, there was a research I once did in education about the number of girls and boys in various levels. We discovered actually at the beginning the girls are more.
Yes.
In nursery school they are more. But they fall off as time goes. It means it is something that we can deliberately come out to do, so that when we get to Form 4, we have the girls still more equal. When we get to the university, we still have them more equal. So that in issues of education, at par.
You know, the
now
problem
economics.
with this country, Chairman, is that we are very reactive. We are not proactive. And we like to cure symptoms, not
Exactly.
the disease.
That I agree with you. 120%.
We don't like curing diseases. We wait for things. Saile imeturamba. When we scramble to say, we didn't do this. We need to do this. So I am in agreement when you say that we need to come up with a better way to ensure that the empowerment does not find us at adulthood, where we are now fighting.
Yes.
The empowerment, and some of these things you have to grow with so that you understand why. Because
even this matter of women reps, if it were not that in the constitution, we would have really fought it in courts. Because to me it is discriminating. Why don't we have men reps? Yes. So you are favoring a sections of society, and you have seen some women have really stepped on their men because now they have.
Chep, I wanted to say something.
Before Chairman starts to make pep talk, let us move on.
You know, Chep.
Yeah.
I like Chairman's argument, but we have to also be realistic. Let me start from Ruto's engagement with the women leaders in this country just a day before the World International Women's Day. I don't think William Ruto was pacifying the women. I don't think he was just pleasing them.
And he doesn't see things he doesn't mean.
That one I'm not aware. But I believe, as the President of the Republic of Kenya, that took oath of office and swore to protect the Constitution that requires of him and the state to implement the principle of not more than 2/3 gender of the same gender, then I want to believe he was honest and truthful. Number two, what is the implication in UDA come 2027? Because there is only one presidential candidate, not aspirant, that now we know is William Ruto.
Yes.
Because he will contest, he will defend his seat unless he changes his mind. Now, the worry is when he says in the near future and instructs the UDA chairperson, Cecil Mbarire, seated in the audience,
who is a woman and a governor,
to go and relook into the UDA regulations to amend that, then I can also tell you that for sure he meant it. That means there are people in that camp that will have to think differently. If for sure President William Ruto would want a female running mate in 2027, then I think Rigiji, the truthful man, must start thinking differently. But I don't want to go there because that's the issue of UDA they'll sort. I want to go into the historical injustices that women have faced and the reason why the 2/3 gender principle today does not favor women. Number one is the finances that you talked about. Women, however much money you have, you are still considered not capable. So financial issues are a big effect. Number two, majority of women also are traditional women and they wouldn't want to be looking like they are the ones supporting. So even if a woman was to have money today and he's dating a man with no money, she will actually be giving the man the money, please pay the bill, so that she remains a traditional African woman. Number two, the social outfit. Women are discriminated upon socially, and we must empower them. Then there is the violence that campaign violence, and we know that women we have seen before. You go into a rally, and 10 minutes before the end of the rally, you start looking at the exit because you don't know what is going to happen. Yes. Then the biological architecture that Chairman was talking about, we cannot underrate that. However, we have come from very far. Remember, after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, go to the governance, because we're talking about G7 now. We only managed 3 female governors.
It was, in fact, it was in 2017.
2013,
we had none.
From 0 to 2017, 3.
To now
2022, 7. Their projection is that at least 16 in the next, and then so. Yeah. That is a good gesture. However, that is only possible if at the very top, you also have a woman who is encouraging you and you are seeing it as a possibility.
And pushing for,
So for
your
me,
issues.
as a father of girls, by the way, I'm the minority in my house. As a father of girls, I would want to encourage my daughters to be leaders. The only way I can do that, I must be seen to support the female agenda, the woman agenda. And the woman agenda, which is called the gender agenda, is that for now, we know we must protect the interests of the youth, the disability, the boy child, the disabled. But the most vulnerable today as it is, and that's why it has a sunset period, it's not for perpetuity, is the woman. The women of Kenya are capable and suitable. What we need to do, we need to start from early childhood. How do we encourage them? How do we educate them? There are communities in this country, Chep, that they still believe that women should not lead. But I'm happy. If you look at the pastoral communities, women are emerging as leaders. You have seen women being elected. If you go to other communities, women, like go to my county, where we come from with chairman.
I think you have 2.
Millie Odhiambo.
You have 3.
Gladys
Ivo
Nyasuna
Bara.
Wanga. Ivo Bara, my village member of parliament. Gogo. We have many. Go to Nakuru County. Susan Kihika.
The top.
They are
Even
women.
Machakos County, the top.
That is an encouragement to the women. But we also must be alive to the fact that after all this is said and done, Chep, is there a situation that can arise that now it is the boy child that now must be empowered? It is a possibility. And that's why I'm saying we need a balance. That balance must protect and promote the interest of the identified special interest group. Women, youth, people with disability, ethnic minority. And there is another emerging minority that is now called the man. Because a situation will come where the parliament will now be probably 60% women 40% men. That presents a technical situation where anything can happen. But I am happy, and if there's anything that I can agree with President Ruto, we have never agreed on so many issues.
But on this one.
On this one, I agree with it.
Okango,
yes.
As you agree with President William Ruto on that, you must also advise your party to do the same. You know, ODM is the only political party in this country which has the capacity to have among its MPs 2/3. Because they don't do nomination in the places. And in those places, the moment they have given you a ticket,
it does
not matter who you are an MP. So in fact, instead of disturbing us...
I'm not the right person to... I'm not ODM, so...
Okay.
But I'm a friend of
ODM. But again, you belong to KANU, but you are an advisor of Raila Odinga.
Who is the leader
as
of
Azimio.
Okay.
But, he's the leader of Azimio and also in ODM.
Okay.
It is a broad house.
So when you give him that advice...
It's a big tent.
he can always use it. They can get 2/3 very easily. They did it in Noma Bay. Because those women in Noma Bay, none of them went through Muchujo. Walipea to even the governor herself. So they can achieve it. So let them not pretend that it is somebody to work on it and not them. And in the process of actually getting women at par with men, you remember the new laws on property. Now they are going to get as much as the boys. That is the first step. The other step is ensuring that they have equal opportunities in business, in economics, in education, and all that. That is the only way. But hii ya kupeana utapeana paka lini? Haitatosha, and it is not sustainable. Itafika wakati watu watasema
tumechoka.
Yes, because you see now we have a very bloated parliament because of struggling to deal with the gender issue. So we must look for a way of solving
a permanent solution.
In this DP thing agenda. You know, we go to presidential contests in coalitions. Now, if the woman you think of taking, his coalition cannot bring 20 votes, and there is a man over the other side whose coalition, say like Raila, you know where he is in coalition with you. You start with 2.5 million votes. No, you start with 2.5 million votes, like Kibaki started with. Though interestingly, in the 2007 elections, you know, Raila was like he was in coalition with William Ruto. And the
No, they were in the same party.
Yes, I know they were in the same party. They were like a coalition. It was whatever it was called, whatever it was. But the Kalenjin turned out more than the Luo.
To vote for that coalition.
To vote for Raila. So that one also you need to look at. There's something that you do wrong among your people.
Anyway, Chairman, thank you guys for coming. I would like to have your final remarks. The conversation has been very, very, very interesting. The objectivity in approach of issues is very encouraging. Your final remarks?
I think we have come from far as a people. And I want to encourage the people to speak up. I want to encourage the public to participate. And to the politicians, I want to encourage them to do the right thing. To the government, you are the government of the day. The public look upon you to deliver. Please, do anything within your means, within the law, to make their life bearable. As it is today, the mama mboga, boda boda, mkokoteni that you promised are suffering. They are suffering because the life is beyond their reach. The taxation is too much. They cannot take their children to school. We were told the other day that even the capitation that go to schools is not enough. We know we are in an economic situation that is melting, but we are here as a people to speak, to come together, offer solutions. We are not enemies. The opposition and the government must not fight for something to happen, but they can criticize constructively. When we live here, this show with my good friend Honorable Odoyo Owidi, we shake hands and we go. We can even go and have tea. We don't fight. We only differ in ideology and ideas. I want to encourage the people out there. Even as you go out your duty, when people come visiting you and you think they are from the other political side, listen to them, but tell them what you think. Because the more we speak, the more we offer solutions.
It is true. It is in dialogue that we get better solutions. Correct. For whatever it is we need to do for our people. Chairman, your final remark.
Kenyans and you, let us have a predictable country, a predictable society. That when you plan to do something, when you plan to achieve a political goal, you know the rules will remain the same until such a time that the results are announced. And after the elections, let us give those who are elected a 5-year term to perform. It is like an exam that is 5 years. Let's not start marking the exam before the 5 years is over. Let thereafter the people decide whether you pass or fail. Now, as we accuse the national government of certain crimes, let us have a control experiment. What really happens to the counties? If you are an opposition and you think the government is wrong in taxes, go back and look at the taxes introduced in your own counties. If you are an opposition and you accuse the national government of not doing too much in the development, go back and look at the development in your own counties. Otherwise, we need a fair and equitable society. May God bless Kenyans.
All right. Thank you so much, Chairman. I am honored to have both of you today as our guests. And definitely, I would like to have you back some other time where we discuss, again, matters of national interest. I have been your host today, and I hope that you've watched and joined us on our various platforms. That is New Day TV on Facebook and YouTube as well. Comment, share, like, subscribe. Let's keep engaging and interacting. Tomorrow we have our diaspora show, as always, same time, same place. And thank you so much. See you on Friday. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.